Now back to Edward R. Murrow.
The voice of gospel singer Mahalia Jackson has been described by music critics in many ways, all of them flattering. But Sister Mahalia, as she frequently is called, says she simply sings the way she feels, and most of the time she feels good. This is apparent to the millions who have heard her, in person, through her records, on radio and television, both in this country and in Europe. Mahalia Jackson comes from New Orleans, where her father was a laborer during the week and a preacher on Sundays. There were 6 children in the family, and all had to go to work at an early age. While still in her teens, Mahalia moved to Chicago, and she's been there ever since. Mahalia Jackson lives in this red brick ranch house on the far south side of town. That is, when she's not on tour, which is about 50% of the time. Good evening, Miss Jackson.
Good evening, Mr. Murrow.
How are you?
Oh, I'm just fine.
It must feel good to spend a little time at home now and then, just taking it easy.
Yes, it really does. And I'm here for just a few days, and I've been here trying to arrange some new songs for my tour that I'm planning to go back on. I'm going back to Kansas City and through Missouri, St. Louis, and a little town in Nashville, in Tennessee, and then Ohio, New York, and Philadelphia.
You didn't by any chance time your homecoming so you could take in the Robinson-Basilio fight, did you?
No, not exactly, but I'm glad he won. But you know, I don't usually like fights, Mr. Murrow.
Well, I can understand that, but what do you like to do when you have a few spare moments to yourself? Read, go to the movies, watch television? What?
Well, I love to watch television, but I can't go to the movies. But you know, Mr. Murrow, I have so much to do because, you know, I do most of my own work. And when I do have a little time at home, I'm cleaning and cooking and fixing things, and there's always something left that I should do.
Tell me,
and that's where I take my time up.
Do you sing while you work around the house?
Yes, Mr. Murrow, I really do. You know, I find that in the early days, long time ago, during the Depression, when things was very, very hard with me, I find that a song in your heart will help to carry the burdens of the day.
That must have been a rather rough period for you during the Depression and so forth. Did singing help keep up your morale?
It certainly did, Mr. Murrow. It done an awful lot for me.
Mahalia, you've given countless people much pleasure through your singing of the gospel. I imagine when you're home, you're constantly being asked to sing by your friends, aren't you?
Yes, Mr. Murrow. There's always a lot of people to come and listen when I'm at home. And today, the streets has been just crowded, and there's been so many people. They had to get the policemen to keep the people out because of this great program. But, you know, I've taken the pleasure of inviting some of my neighbors and my neighbors' children to come in and be on this program with us, Mr. Murrow.
Good.
These are the young children, but I do hope that you will be glad to meet them and to see my neighbors' children.
Oh, what a fine-looking group.
Now, this is all of the young people here. Some of the names I have forgotten, but here they are.
Could I join them while they listen to you sing?
Oh, yes.
Good.
I'm going to sing a little song for them. They crucified my Lord, and he never said a mumbling word. They crucified my Lord, and he never said a mumbling word. They crucified my Lord, and he never said a mumbling word. And the Lord will bear my spirit free. He rose, he rose, he rose from the grave. He rose, he rose, he rose from the grave. Oh, he rose, he rose, he rose from the grave. And the Lord shall bear my spirit free.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Mr. Murrow.
Now I guess the children can eat while I chat a bit more with Miss Jackson. It's been very nice to meet all of you. Good night, children.
Thank you, Mr. Murrow.
Thank you, Mr. Murrow.
Good night.
And now we're going to have you to sit right here while I continue with Mr. Murray, darling.
Miss Jackson, how did you happen to become a gospel singer instead of, say, a blues singer?
Well, Mr. Merle, I was brought up in a religious home. All of my environments, all of my life has been in the gospel. And that's why I'm a gospel singer, and the older I get, the more it's a part of me. I can't help from being a gospel singer because I love the gospel.
Well, what essentially distinguishes a gospel song from a spiritual?
Well, the way that I would explain it, Mr. Merle, is that the Negro spiritual tells of the trials and tribulations that they have had in this world. And that's the difference in a spiritual. But the gospel is the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it brings glad tidings to all nations. That's the difference in a Negro spiritual and a gospel song.
Well, you have both great belief and great faith. What was the strongest test it was ever put to?
Well, I remember when I was some years ago during the Depression when things was pretty hard, Mr. Merle. And my husband was out of work, and I was out of work, and things was pretty tight. And I heard about this contest going on, the Hot Makata. So I said, well, maybe I'd go down and try to get on. And I won this contest. And the people was glad that I had won it. But I was sad. I didn't want it because I had made a promise to God, a personal promise to God that I would never sing in a theater. And here I had won this great contest and out of work and everything, looked like I would be, but I was sad. But when on the way home, I began to pray and ask the Lord to guide me and direct me. And when I got home, my husband had just a little job of selling insurance. But you know, I was so happy about that, Mr. Murray, because I wouldn't have to sing in the theater.
I understand. But you have done some movie work, haven't you?
Oh, yes. I was in this picture, the St. Louis Blues. The late Dr. W.C. Handy that just passed?
Yes.
This morning.
We had the very good fortune once of visiting him.
Yes.
And certainly with his death today, we've lost a fine artist and a very fine gentleman.
That's right, Mr. Merle. Well, Mr. Handy not only gave the blues to America, but Mr. Hanley wrote some great, beautiful spiritual hymns. And that's the part in the picture that I'm playing. I'm playing in the religious scene. I'm singing some of the songs that Mr. Handy wrote. And I think they're very beautiful.
Mahalia, I suppose you've discovered that fame brings with it some problems, too, your own and others, isn't that right?
Yes, it does, Mr. Merle. It brings quite a few problems. You know, the people calls me all hours of the night, and they ask me questions. But, you know, I sort of enjoy that because I would rather be a good neighbor than to be a great artist. And, of course, when I have my problems, my personal problems, I can find it here before the throne of God when I meditate before Him. And this is my meditation room where I meet and talk with the Lord, Mr. Merle.
Mm-hmm. Well, Miss Jackson, this would seem an appropriate time to ask what your particular favorite is in that vast repertory of gospel songs.
Well, Mr. Merle, I have many songs. When I meet the burdens of the day, I sing the songs that fit the condition of what I'm going through with. But I have a song here that I'd like for you to hear, and it's one of my late records. He's got the whole world in his hand.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Well, I got to start this now. Whole world in his hand, he's got the whole round world. In his hand, he's got the whole round world in his hand. He's got the little bit of baby. In his hands, he's got the little bit of baby. In his hands, he's got the little bit
Thank you very much, Mahalia Jackson. Thank you very much. Tell me, other than gospels, what sort of music do you enjoy listening to?
Well, I have a deep sense of appreciation, Mr. Merle, and I love all types of music.
Well, does this include rock and roll?
Well, yes, I like rock and roll. It might be a little loud and overemphasized, but I like it.
Well, Miss Jackson, now that the worst is behind you, the mistakes and the frustrations, looking back, what would you say is the best advice anyone ever gave you?
Well, my aunt, on my mother's side, when I was a girl, I wanted to go to a school dance, and I had a very beautiful dress, and she came up to me and she said, are you going to wear that dress to the dance? And so I said, yes. She said, well, you should wear that one to church. And I said, oh, my. I said, a dress like this is too pretty to go to church. And, you know, I thought you just could go to church in most anything. And she said, she told me, she said, always give the Lord the best that you have. And she said, seek ye the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. And Mr. Merle, I have found that to be true.
I'm sure you have. For things have worked out very well for you, haven't they?
Yes, Mr. Merle, it has. The Lord has been good to me. It may not look like much to other people, but what he has done for me. If you knew from whence I came, you could bear witness that I feel and tell the truth what the Lord has done for me. And I'm so grateful.
Thank you very much, and we're grateful to you for letting us come and visit you tonight, Mahalia Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow.
Thank you very much, and much luck on your concert tour.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
We'll be back in a moment.
A few minutes ago, Sam Levinson told you about this week's installment in Life's Education series. Now, in connection with this series, you'll find a challenging editorial in Life on the deeper problem in education. Already, Life has received requests for thousands of reprints from school board members, PTA authorities, and universities. If you would like free reprints for use in your community, write to Life, 9 Rockefeller Plaza, New York 20, New York. That's Life, 9 Rockefeller Plaza, New York 20, New York. Now back to Ed Murrow.
Next week, we'll be going to California for a visit with singer Anna Maria Alberghetti and her family. We'll also be dropping in on that man of many talents, author, publisher, and television personality, Bennett Cerf and his family at home here in New York. There are some of the people who made tonight's program possible. And now, from person to person, good night and good luck.
Easter time is flower time. Your nearby FTD florist will quickly wire beautiful Easter plants and flowers to your friends and loved ones anywhere. There's a wide selection to choose from.
And so inexpensive, too. Why, for as low as $5, you can buy a lovely Easter lily plant. Or perhaps you'd like to wire something like azaleas or cut flowers for Easter.
Phone or visit your FTD florist. He's listed in the yellow pages. Satisfaction guaranteed.